Good day. So this video is just a video where I will walk you through this spreadsheet that I created that I use to track my trading performance. So it is free. You can download it in the comments or you can look in the description. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So this spreadsheet right here is very simple. It's very straightforward. You don't need any years of experience in dealing with spreadsheets, and you can use Google Sheets, which is 100% free, so you don't need Excel to do this. So firstly, I will just do a brief overview of everything that's included in this spreadsheet so you know if this is something you want or not, and then I will go more in depth into how I use this spreadsheet basically. So the first page here, the data entry page, this is just where you enter all your entries basically. That's why it's called data entry. So when you enter a new trade, you just come in here and you enter the details and so forth. So this is the data entry page. Next we have trade summary, where it gets a bit more interesting. So here you have a full trade summary, as it says right here. If you have it in table format and you have it in chart format. So here you can see that you have total trades, you have total return, you have your total win rate, you can see your profit factor, you have your best performance here. I should probably zoom in on this a bit. So you have your best performing symbol, best performing asset class, best performing session, confluence, day, and so forth. And then that best performance, you can see it in a chart format here. So this is best performance right here. This is just it in a chart format. And then you have worst performance, and it's the same thing again, and it's in chart format here. Then you have most traded, and I don't think you really need a chart for this. So you can just see your most traded symbol, most traded session, confluence, day, and so forth. And then you have streaks, so you can look at your longest winning streak and your longest losing streak. So that's the trade summary page. So you get a nice little overview of all your trade right here. And next we have data source, which basically you go more in depth, a bit more in detail with analyzing your trade. So here we have symbol stats, confluence, we have the asset class and sessions and all that. So symbol stats, this is just basically the symbol or the asset or the market or whatever you want to call it. So USD CAD, you can see the different columns here. Trades, this is just the number of trades that I have taken. So for USD CAD, I have taken one trade, the number of wins is 0, and that gives me a win rate of 0%. And you have USD JPY, it's the same thing again, and you can just basically look at your win rate and your stats and your probabilities and so forth for different symbols. And next we have confluence, and this is just your entry model. So whenever you're taking an entry, what validates your entry. So here I use mostly volume profile and the basic support and resistance. So naked support and resistance, daily support and resistance, trend line, value area high, value area low, and again you have the number of trades you've taken with this, the number of wins and the win rate. And then here we have the asset class, session, and days, the same thing again. So currencies, commodities, and indices are the three main different asset classes. Then you have sessions, which are New York, London, Asia. Yes, I know you have Sydney and Wellington, but I just classify Asia. I just put Asia in the category of Sydney and Wellington because Sydney and Wellington is not really important. And then you have days, so from Sunday to Friday, and it's the same thing again, the number of trades, the number of wins, and the win rate. And you can really get deep into your trading statistics on this page right here. And then we have pivot tables, which there's a bit of learning curve to actually know how to use this. And by the way, all of this is automated, so you don't have to manually enter anything. Once you enter your data right here, everything here is automated, so you don't have to manually touch or edit anything, right? So the pivot tables now is where the manual comes in. This is where you can really dive into detail on your strategy, and in this video I'll be explaining just a bit how to use pivot tables, because that would take a video in and of itself. So pivot tables here, you can basically see the same thing as in your trade summary, but you can get a lot more detailed. So you can really come to filters here and remove things like volatility. So if you want to see your win rate in high volatility environments, you can see that. If you want to see your win rate in a specific month, your win rate in 2023, in 2024, basically all of that stuff right there, this is what pivot tables are for. So that's basically the overview. That's basically everything there is. It's very simple, and you can really get to analyze your trading performance using this. So let's actually go into more details now on how you use this. And if you're interested, again, it's free. You can check the description or the pinned comment and you'll see a link to this spreadsheet where you can just copy and just use it for yourself. So let's say you just took a trade. So we're just going to go through the process of entering a trade. So if you just took a trade, right, you're going to come to data entry here, and on this side right here where you see the numbers, you're just going to click the top row. So this would be row number 2. Then you right click and then add new row above. And the reason why I do this is because I want to see my most recent trades at the top. Obviously, if you want to do this the other way around, probably you want to just show a bunch of rows and then you just enter a new trade. You can do that, but I do this because I want to see my most recent trade at the top. So that's that. And then you enter date, and then for date you just literally enter the date. So you can enter APR for April and then just put the 20th, and then the date automatically fills itself, so you can see that April 20, 2025. And then the day now is just the day of the week, so put Sunday, the time when you entered the trade, not when you made the entry, the time when the trade was executed. So let's put this at 20 o'clock, which would be 8 p.m. The session, let's just put Asia session. The symbol, let's say just USD CAD, and the asset class is currency because USD CAD is a currency. So if it was something like the Nasdaq, then the asset class would be indices, right? And then confluence is your entry model. So let's say I just use a daily support and resistance. That's what I use to validate my entry. And then confidence, this is just how confident you were in that trade. Was your confidence high? Was it moderate? Or was it low? And very soon you will see why columns like this is very important when you go to the pivot table. And next we have volatility. And again, this is very important if you want to really analyze your trade. So was the volatility high, moderate, or low? So let's just say volatility was moderate. The execution was, did everything go good basically? So if everything went perfect, meaning that you set your sell limit, your order got filled, you did not make any error, like you did not set an incorrect take profit or incorrect stop loss, or you weren't greedy, like your take profit probably would have gotten hit, but you did not take profit, so you were greedy or all that stuff. That's basically what this is. So if the entry was perfect, you just put perfect, and you'll soon see why this is actually very important when it comes to analyzing your trades. So next we have news event, and this is just personal for me. You can remove these if you're not interested or you don't care. These are just really for me, and I think they're important. So this is, was your trade interrupted by an unanticipated news? For instance, Trump going on Truth Social and making a random tweet, and because of that you lost a trade, right? That can give you, like, it can really skew your trading results, like your win rate and the accuracy of your confluence, if you lost your trade because of a major unanticipated news like that. So this is basically filter. So if something like that happened, you would put yes. So yes, during your trade there was an unanticipated news that either led you to lose the trade or win the trade. And this SBM tool, this is just, again, is for me personally. You probably won't have this, so you can just come here and right click and delete it. So SBM tool is my, SBM stands for a systematic bias management tool. So this is the tool that I use to validate my bias in the market. So this is the software here. This is Notion. So I look at the different factors that drive price, economic fundamentals, narratives, emotions, COT positioning, and technicals. And then I basically give this a score of bullish or bearish. And as you can see, the dollar is currently bearish. So if my system is giving a bearish reading, and as a result, I took a short, that means that I followed my systematic bias management tool. If it's giving a bearish reading and I took a long, I ignored it, right? So that's what this is. And again, this is just for me personally. If you have something like this, you can keep it. And the outcome is basically mostly binary numbers. So like 1 would be a win. So if you won the trade, you would enter 1. If you lost the trade, you would enter 0. And if the trade was a break even, you would enter 0.5. So that's basically what that is. Win 1, lose 0, break even 0.5, right? So let's just say this was a winner. And the risk reward, well, everyone knows what risk reward is. So if you risk $100 and you made $200, the risk reward would be 2. And that's what this part here is right here. So that's basically the data entry. And once you do that, you don't need to manually enter anything else. Everything else is 100% automated. The trade summary, the data source, and pivot tables. I mentioned that this is it's manual. You would have to you have to manually create your table and whatnot. So that's data entry. So see, I just entered a dummy, what would you call it, a dummy entry basically, right? So because I entered that, you can see that the total trades, it moved from 25 to 26. It was a win, so you can see that the win rate, it moved to 59%. So if I go back to data entry and let's say I added 0, I moved the outcome to 0, so this would record it as a loss. You can see that trade summary, my win rate is now 54%, right? So let's just move this back to a win, outcome 1. Now my win rate is back to basically 60%, and the profit factor here is 3.54. Wait, I'm moving a bit too fast. Yeah, so before we go to profit factor, the total R here, this is basically the total return, assuming that every counting a loss as -1 and a win as +1. So you can look at the total R as if I had risked 1% per trade, since I have been recording this data. So since I've recorded all of these 26 trades, it's if for every trade I have risked 1%, that means that this right here, the total R, I'll probably need to zoom in here, would be 12.7%. So if for every trade I risked 1%, my account would have been up 12.7%. And then obviously you can multiply that by 2. So if I had risked 2% on every trade, you just multiply this by 2 and you know that your return would be what's that, 24.4% or 25.4% or something like that. So that's what this total R is. It assumes basically a 1% risk per trade. So that's what that is. And then your win rate, everyone knows your win rate. So the win rate is 59%. The profit factor now is something that you need to understand in trading, where if your profit factor is below 0, that basically means that you have an unprofitable strategy. So a profit factor of 3.5 is actually really good. And these are my actual trades that I have entered, by the way. So excluding the dummy one, my profit factor is about 3.2 or something like that, but a profit factor of 3.5. What this is saying is that for every $1 that you lose, you make $3.54. So that means that your strategy is very profitable, and that's basically what your profit factors say. So your win rate could be 30%, but if your profit factor is above 1, that's really all that matters. It shows that you are profitable. So for every $1 that you lose, this strategy is telling me that I make $3.54. So that's a profitable strategy right there. So win rate, sure, it's important. Everyone likes to look at win rate, but what really matters is your profit factor. You want to keep this above 1. So that's the overview section right there. And next we have best performers. So this is, as the name suggests, just your best performers across the different categories. So we have symbols, and this would be like ASEAN, USD CAD, GBP, JPY, NASDAQ, the Nikkei. That's what symbols are. So my best performing symbol, since I have been recording this, and by the way, I do not have enough data to get any amount any insight at all from this, any valuable insight from this. So currently my best performing symbol is AUDJPY and the win rate is 100%. But the reason why the win rate is 100%, if we go to data source, I'm jumping the gun here, but if we go to data source, you can see that AUDJPY, I've only taken one trade, and the one trade that I have taken, it's a winner. So that's why the win rate is 100%. So these stats right here, you actually need more data before you can get a more valuable insight, right? So my best performing symbol is AUSSIEN with 100% win rate. Best performing asset class is indices. So the different asset classes, the main ones are indices, currencies or forex, and commodities. So my best performing asset class at the moment is indices, which has a win rate of 60%. My best performing session is Asia session, which is actually insane to me. My best performing confluence is value area low, overlapping with a daily support and resistance. The win rate is 100. Best performing day is Monday. So those are basically your best performance. And then you can see right here that the best performance here in this is basically this in a chart format. So it's the exact thing here that's in the table right here. It's the exact same thing here on this chart. So you can see that best performing symbol, AUSSIEN, 100% win rate. Best performing asset class is indices with 60% win rate. So it's the same thing here, but it's just in a chart format. So it's just more visually appealing basically. And then you have the opposite of that, which you also need to pay attention to, which I think is even more important than the best performance. Because if you have something that is performing well, you don't need to change anything. So that's not really important. But your worst performance, that's where changes and improvements need to be made. So that is why I added worst performance. So my worst performing symbol is GBP USD, and again, this is probably the worst performing because I've taken 0 trades on it. So as a result, the win rate is 0%. So I don't have enough data to actually get any valuable insight as mentioned. So, but it's just the same thing as the best performance. It's just the opposite. So you have worst performing asset class, which is commodities, worst performing session, which is London with a 20% win rate, worst performing confluence, which is value area high, 0%, and worst performing day is Thursday with a 20% win rate. And then you have it in the chart format right here. So similar to best performance, you have the worst performance in a chart format where you can see your worst performing symbols, assets, days, and so forth. So that's best and worst performers. And next you have most traded, and I just added this because I just think it would be pretty interesting just to see your most traded symbol again. So my most traded symbol is UJ, which I have 4 trades. I've taken 4 trades on UJ. My most traded asset class is currencies, and I've taken 18 trades. So out of the total 26 trades, I've taken 18 of those trades fall under the category of currencies. My most traded session, which was surprising to me, is Asia session. So the session that I trade the most is Asia session, and I did not even realize this. Maybe I need some more data before I can really come to any solid conclusion, but this is actually crazy to me. I seriously thought my most traded would have been New York, and New York is actually my least traded session. So this is where these type of statistics, it can really give you some reality check so you can understand your trading better. My most traded confluence is low volume node, which is no surprise here. Most traded day is Tuesday, which I have 9 trades on. So that's the most traded, just something I think that would be interesting. And then streaks. So you have longest winning streak and longest losing streak. So you can see that my longest winning streak is 7 trades. So I've won 7 trades in a row, and my longest losing streak so far is 2. So I've lost 2 trades in a row. And you can really come here and you can see this visually. So you can see that from here, from the 27th of March to the 6th of April, that was my winning streak. So from the 27th of March to the 6th of April, you can look at the outcome. It was just winning. And that's how we got this longest winning streak to be 7 trades right here. So that's your trade summary page. You get a very, brief or quick glance at your overall trading, and that's this page right here. So next we have data source now, and on this page you basically go a bit more in detailed with your trading performance. So it's basically the same thing on trading summary but more in detail. So everything from trading summary is basically, I jogged it from here, and you can come in here and you can look at the formulas and so on, see how I calculate it. So like USD CAD, you can come here and look at the formula, see what I do and whatever. So on symbol stats, what's important here is the different columns. So you can see that we have trades, the number of wins, and the win rate. And for USD CAD, you can see that I've taken 2 trades, the number of wins is 1, and the win rate is 50%. And then you can just come here and you can see your trading stats for the different symbols. So you have USD CAD, GBP CAD, and whatever. And you're not really limited to just these symbols. So what you can do is, if you want, say for instance, you want to add a new symbol, you can just come to the symbol column here, and then you just click one of these drop downs, and then you just click edit. And then you see this, what would you call it, the sidebar here, and you can just click add another item, and you add whatever symbol you want. But when you do that, you would have to come to data source, and then you basically add this. So let's say you add BTC USD, which is Bitcoin, which I don't trade. You just add this name here, and then you get this column and you just drag it here. And that's all you need to do. You just drag this here and you just drag this here. But I don't trade Bitcoin or anything like that, so it will be 0. But I just wanted to show you that, just in case you don't you don't see the symbol that you trade, you can just add it here and then come to data source and then just pull this down. So it's nothing complicated. 5-year-old could do that. So let me undo that. So that's symbol stats, and then you just have the same thing again, but for a confluence for your entry models. So you can see the number of trades that you have taken on a particular entry model, the number of wins, and the win rate. So you have all of your entry models here and the win rate. And then you have the same thing again here. So you have asset class. So you can see that currencies, I've taken 18 trades, I've won 10, and my win rate is currently 55%. Commodities, I've taken 3 trades, won 0. Indices, I've taken 5 trades and won 3, 60% win rate. And then you have sessions, so New York, London, and Asia. And then you have the day, so Sunday to Friday. Those are your day statistics. And again, you can do a lot of analysis. You can really get into detail in your trading performance on this page. And then lastly, we have pivot tables, and this is where the magic happens. This is where you can seriously do some deep analysis on your trading performance. You can filter, you can look at specific date ranges, you can do everything in pivot tables. So it would take a whole 1-hour video for me to fully explain pivot tables. So I'll just give you a brief overview of what you can do. There's a lot of tutorials on YouTube on how to use pivot tables. It's not complicated. The learning curve is probably like 1 to 2 hours, 3 hours at most, and you can really learn how to use it. So let me close this off here. So you have the pivot table sheet. I already added this, so you don't need to add a pivot table sheet. You just head to the pivot table sheet, and then you head to this table right here and you click the edit button, and then you have this sidebar that pops up, and as you can see here, we have pivot table editor right here. So I currently have a few data filled, and I'll just remove these so it's blank, because the template would probably be blank. So here we have a completely blank table. The chart right here is blank, and everything is basically blank. So what do you do with pivot tables? So let's say you wanted to look at your win rate for a particular symbol, which is nothing new. So what you would do is you would come to symbol right here. So you want to look at your win rate for symbol. So you get symbol, you drag it into rows right here, and as you can see, all of the symbols that you have traded, they pop up right here. So AUD CAD, AUD USD, GBP, AUD NQ, oil, and all of that stuff, it pops up right here in the row column, and you can uncheck show totals, right? So that's rows. And if you want to see your win rate, the way that you check your win rate is you drag the outcome column. So this outcome right here, this tracks your win rate, and you drag it into values. But you can see that you look at this, you're seeing 100%, 300%. You're like, what? No, the reason why that is because it's counting. So that is wrong right here. So you want to change this to average. And now you will see your win rate for the particular symbols. But this is nothing new. You can see your win rate for a particular symbol here. But with pivot tables, what you can do, and as you can see, you have your nice little chart here, which by the way, you can edit. This is not the only chart option that you have. So I just click edit chart right there. Wait a minute, edit chart, and you can change this to a pie chart. You can change this to a chart that looks like this. You have scattered chart. I don't know why you would use that, but yeah, this is not the only option you have. You can change your chart to whatever you want. But let's head back to the pivot table. So now you have your confluence and you have the different win rate. So let me zoom in on this a bit here. Yeah, so here you have your different win rate. So let me title this column win rate so it's a lot more clear. So we have win rate right here. So you can see that AUD CAD currently the win rate is 50%, Nikkei the win rate is 66%, USD JPY the win rate is 62%. And better yet, instead of analyzing currencies, I'll use something with a bit more data. So I'll remove symbol right here. So out of rows, I'll X this off. So as you can see, it's blank. And then I'll drag asset class into rows. So now we're looking at the different asset class. So you can see that we have commodities, currencies, and indices. Those are the three different asset class, right? And you can see the win rate for our commodities 25%, the win rate for our currencies 71%, the win rate for our indices 75%, right? So nothing new here, nothing special. But let's say you wanted to see your win rate for indices, but only in moderate volatility environment. So remember that during your data entry, if you zoom out here, during your data entry, you can select whether your volatility was high, moderate, or low, right? So if you go to pivot tables here and you get volatility over this section, you get it and you drag it to filters, right? Nothing happens. You click status, you click clear, and then you have high and moderate here. There's no low, because since I have been recording this data, I have not traded in a low volatility environment, so there's no low. But if you have traded during low volatility times, that would pop up here. So let's say I want to see my win rate, but only in moderate volatility environments. I would click this moderate here, and then I click OK. And you can see that instantly this changed. So before, the win rate for currencies was 72%. But now it's 92%. The win rate for our indices was 70 something percent as well, and now it's 100%. And for commodities, it was 25, and now it's 50. So what this is telling me is that during moderate volatility, I have a higher win rate in currencies and indices and commodities. So when volatility is high, my win rate drops. I start to lose more and so forth. And this is how you can use this to basically, understand your trading a lot more. Now, let's say I wanted to see my strategy in high volatility environments. So I would click high here and I would click OK. You can see that in high volatility environment, my win rate on currencies is 55%, on indices is 66%, and on commodities it's 0. So this is also this is actually not really bad. Like, I'm pretty sure once I add more data, this win rate right here will drop. So I'm pretty sure my win rate in high volatility environment is not 55. But you can see that this is only taking into consideration 26 trades. So the trade sample size is a bit small here. So that is why the win rate is actually quite good in high volatile environment. But let's say I wanted to see something else. Let's say I wanted to filter out news event. So I would drag news event to filter, and I could simply say remember that when you click yes on the news event here, so this is saying that you entered a trade and you lost the trade because a news event, there was an unanticipated news event led to you losing your trade. So if you wanted to analyze your win rate and exclude unanticipated news event, you drag your news event to filters and you just click no. So this would show you your win rate when there's no unanticipated news. You click OK and you can see that it's better. So I have lost a lot of trade. What this is telling me, I've lost a lot of trade because of unanticipated news events. Now there's no real way to prepare for that, but it's just some insight into your strategy. Basically remove things that you don't want, and you can see that, hey, okay, so and so, right? So that's what you can do here. And with pivot tables, as mentioned, you can do a lot of other stuff. You can check your win rate for a specific date. So let's say you don't want to see your win rate for every single one of your trades, right? So let's say you've been tracking your trades and you have 1,000 trades, you've been tracking it since 2021, but you only want to see your win rate for a specific date. You actually can do that with pivot tables, right? You can also even drag something like time. So let's say remove this right here and you want to drag time here. You can see your win rate at different time of the day. So you can see that at 19 o'clock I have 100% win rate. At 4 a.m. I have a 0% win rate. At 23 o'clock I have a 53% win rate. So you can see that you seriously can do a lot with pivot tables. I hope you see the potential that this has. It can really let you dive into some serious details into your trading analysis. So you can do a lot with pivot tables, but you'll have to learn it for yourself and do some manual working and so forth. So that's basically pivot tables right there, and that basically covers everything so far. I'm planning to actually update this some more. So as time progressed, the link that's in the description or the comment, I'll continue update this with the newer version. So as I change and add things and so forth, you guys can probably download it or change it or whatever, So that's basically it right there. As you can see, this is a very simple spreadsheet, nothing complicated. As mentioned, all you want to do is just enter your data and then go to trade summary right here, and everything is automated. You don't need to touch everything. If you click in the columns, you can see that they have formulas, so everything is just dragging data from different places to put the data right here. So all of this is automated. Data source, it's automated. You can see that the formulas are already there. You don't need to do anything. Pivot tables, this is where you do your manual analysis. You look at your different stuff. So that's basically it right there. If you want the spreadsheet, as mentioned, it's in the description, it's in the comments, you can get it there. That being said, peace and trade safe.